Hey everybody, welcome back to SaaS Founder Stories. My name is David Brennan, and today I have Spencer, who's the CEO and founder of Aidium, back on the show. Last time we talked, I think we were in Rio. So welcome back to the show, man. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good. It feels like it wasn't too long ago, but time moves fast. Like it's been 6 months or so. So
Yeah,
glad to be
the
back.
world has fundamentally changed. And I think, last time we were talking about your product, and I'm really excited this time to have you kind of tell us about how you're using AI to in the day-to-day operations of the company. And so that's really exciting for me. And you mentioned a couple things like Figma AI, how you're using it for QA, and a little bit in support. But let's start off and tell everybody a little bit about the company and what you guys do, and then we'll go into how you guys are using AI.
Yeah, ADM is essentially like an all-in-one kind of CRM, data warehousing solution. There's some cool AI kind of workflow automation. And, we work primarily with lenders, but we do have customers kind of in a number of different verticals. And really, our core value proposition is we're sort of that bridge between kind of the enterprise and then the field level producers. So we allow for real compliant customization at the producer level because businesses like real estate, lending, everyone kind of operates a little differently. So they need the flexibility to do to kind of run their business and to be able to customize while doing it compliant. And of course, the enterprise needs to kind of provide the marketing and compliance support as well. And so we kind of merge those two, and there's not really a system that bridges the gap between the two. Usually one is more enterprise or more producer focused. So that's what Adium's all about.
Nice. And so, just for the guests, how did you get into it? What's the origin story?
Yeah, I mean, so prior to this, I was doing business. We are doing predictive data in real estate. We were selling basically that data to a lender, and he was using like 6 different systems, using one for his lead conversion, one for his pipeline management, task management, marketing, texting. None of them talk to each other, and so obviously there's a massive inefficiency in that workflow in general, and understanding that someone needs to build that end-to-end solution because having 5 different systems is a nightmare, and so. But then also just understanding kind of the dynamics at play and just the technology. Lending is super antiquated, and because this particular branch manager was doing such a high volume, he had a lot of leverage, and the enterprise couldn't really force him onto the enterprise solution. And so that's where I realized, okay, we need to build there's an opportunity to build an end-to-end solution here, but there also is an opportunity to build something that those types of people like, and that also meets the needs of the enterprise. Because, it's just, that's why I asked them, was like, what happens if someone responds to your marketing email and says, don't email me? And like, how does that make its way into your 5 other systems? So you're not texting that person or doing all of this. And it's like, well, my assistant does it once a month for me. It's like, okay, well, and corporate's okay with that. Well, he's like, well, corporate lets me do what I want to do because I do hundreds of millions of dollars in loans for them. And so that was sort of the aha moment. It's like, okay, this is really interesting. It's an interesting problem to try and solve.
That's really cool. And when did you get into when did you start? Like, when did you start getting into that space?
Yeah, I mean, so I've been doing I guess I was doing real estate technology back in like 2016. Ultimately exited that company in 2019, and then we kind of brought this product to market in 2020. So it's been
Nice.
interesting to go from the best of times kind of in real estate and lending to, I wouldn't say the worst of times, but like almost the worst of times.
It's been a heck of a journey. I mean, and now we're into AI, and I think that's going to fundamentally change the way that we run businesses. So tell me a little bit about how you guys are using AI to um, in the day-to-day operations and development of your product.
Yeah, I mean, there's a number of things. I think just in general, I've kind of implemented the philosophy like no department is hiring anybody new until they've implemented AI and we can talk about it. And so when we had this discussion, on the support side 4 months ago, oh, we're overwhelmed. We need more bodies. It's like, well, we need to implement AI and then we can talk. Right. And of course, to implement AI now, we don't need more bodies. AI handles 40% of all of our support requests and growing. And so I think for us, like that's been the philosophy is every department needs to implement it, if they want to add headcount and get a little bit more help. So we've sort of done that. And I think the departments that have taken into it the most, like really like from an operational standpoint, of course, I mentioned support where, if you're in our app and chatting with support. The AI will take the first pass at it. If they can't answer, then they will, push it up to a human, but they're effectively answering 40, plus% of the, of the time. And so that's, and it's growing 2 month over month as the AI is learning and working. So, so I think, support on that side has done a great job implementing that. I would say on the R&D side, I know we've chatted about, of course, the Cursors of the world. Every engineer is using that. Figma AI allows us to really prototype and put things together a lot quicker on the design side. And then on the
Are
QA,
you
I
for
forget the
Figma, quickly, Spencer, for Figma, are you using it? Because I was playing with the other day, and you can pretty much put in the prompt of what you want to build, and you can build mock-ups. Is that how you're using it right now?
Yeah, so it's more to we do a lot, research with our customers, and so I think the main way we would use it is to mock up different, nothing like hi-fi really, but like to mock up a couple of different flows to get feedback on things really quickly has been super effective because now you don't need to like get feedback, do a design, then go get their feedback again. You can show up with four things that you just prompted, right? And then work with it on the fly. So it's been pretty cool from like that research
Yeah,
standpoint.
which is pretty insane because if you think about it, like the way that a year ago, just a year ago, you would have like had it, you have an idea, your team takes it out, they go to the customer, you're like, hey, what do you think of this? They give you feedback, you come back, you go, you know what I mean? And then a designer is back in Figma, rebuilding out the workflow, and then they animate it probably and take it back out. And so this is like a maybe a 2 week process to get something
Yeah.
like really fleshed out, probably by the time. And that's incredible, first of all, to think about that you can cut 2 weeks out of a designer's time on a new feature, a new product. We're seeing where you have an idea. Just, like I used to tell people, if you have an idea for a product, do some napkin drawings or really low fidelity and take it out and see who's interested. See if you can get somebody to buy it before you ever actually, build anything. And now when I saw that in Figma, I literally have been playing around with this executive assistant tool that I want to build. Mostly because I just don't see anything on the market that does it the way that I think it should be done. And so I was like, I just want a quick mock-up of this so I can like run it past people. I put the prompt in, 10 minutes later, with a little bit of tweaks, I had it. And I was like, oh, here, now I can actually like have a visual representation of me telling, hey, Spencer, look at this. This is what we want to go through. That's incredible, man. That's like you couldn't even imagine doing that. Like you think back to when you were like when you first got in, you said you started like you exited around 2016. Remember what development was like then? And
Oh yeah.
nowadays you can just go into Figma. Like I remember when Figma was crazy. And now you're like, well, there's an AI in there that like literally takes your idea and mocks it up in a minute and a
Yeah.
half.
You
So
probably use Cursor, and even if you're not don't know how to code, probably have a prototype, in a day or something too. It's wild. Oh,
okay, first product. I'm not. I guess I could say I'm semi-technical now because I've actually developed something. But I went from doing. I think the most I ever did. It took me about like probably 2 days to set up my environment because you know how hard that was. And then I wrote "Hello World." I think was my thing. And then I was like, this is horrible for me. The type of person I am. I need to go way quicker. And so when Cursor came out, I built like the idea, like the documents of what I wanted to build. I had a working model. I had a working product that was in my inbox, sorting my emails and moving them into the right folders in 12 hours.
yeah.
That's with an API into Google. That's an AWS server from scratch and an interface. So that's like, that just like, wow, what a world.
It is crazy. And I think for any, first time or aspiring founder, it's like you can get a prototype out there so quickly and really with no, you don't need any investment to do it. Of course, like you can't have Cursor build the most complex app and unscalable architecture, but to have something that can work, that you can get feedback, get people on it. I mean, it's not a matter of like knowing a lot of these skills. It's just the will to use these tools and sit in a garage for a couple of days. It is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, so cool. Okay, I think that if you're building a product with Cursor for the very first time, this next bit might be really helpful. QA. How are you using AI to QA your product?
Yeah, I mean, so when you think about like an R&D org, obviously you have the horsepower of engineering, building stuff, but then in order to get to that point, you have to have designs, product requirements, and then of course you have to QA it before you ship it. And so, in every organization, it's hard to have all four of those running on all cylinders. There's always a bottleneck. A lot of the times and for most, I'd say startups, it ends up, it's probably more the engineering horsepower is moving fast. And then if you hit that shift to where you have users and customers, it becomes QA because then you want to still move fast and iterate, but you need to make sure you're not introducing bugs to the system. And um, so one of the things we're doing is, again, with Cursor or even just like a ChatGPT, it's anytime there's a feature being built, I mean, you could easily prompt a unit test to be and it will just generate it, and it's like accurate like 95% of the time, like out of the box, right? And so the idea is before we implement a process, before you finish up, like, you have to have a unit test on this particular ticket or whatever. And of course, engineers typically have hated building that, but if you prompt it, you can have it in like 10 seconds and then you're good to go. And so, process wise, we've implemented that. And then I forget the exact tool that the QA team uses, but there's a lot of AI functionality in there to also, to build out the test suite. And again, you take QA resources who are technical, but not necessarily engineer, or coders, and, to allow them to write all of these tests just simply by prompting, within these tools, obviously has, allowed us to just to make sure that we have the test coverage we need and also iterate quickly and fix stuff as tests break and the app evolves.
How much faster than 2 years? Like how much quicker is development now than 2 years ago for you?
We've always moved fast, but I think you're looking at probably 3x at this point. Yeah, conservatively, I would say.
With the design, because everyone's like, oh, Cursor speeds up your devs, but it's like for us, what we found is it's like research, planning. You want to build out all your tickets for your team, like that project, that lead up that makes a good product, creation of all your assets for your marketing team, for releases, release notes, all of that stuff that just eats up time. I think that's where we've seen a huge, huge lift for companies. So that's really cool to see that you guys are at 3x. Oh, beginning of 2025. What's the plan for this year? What do you think's going to happen? What are you guys looking to do and implement?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is it's just I mean a lot of this always obviously comes top down, right? And so each department, like we put that rule in place, you have to implement. You have it before you hire someone, which was motivating, and then and now it's every quarterly leadership offsite, everyone has to bring three new AI tools and ideas that they're looking to implement, right? And because it has to start from there. And so I think for me is it's just being very maniacal about every single project using AI. And to give an example, we did a lot of work on product positioning recently, and of course we did all of our research, put together a big deck, and it was like a 2 month project, and that's one of those things where now I think like an O1 research could probably do 5% of that in like 10 minutes, right? And so it's those
I
kinds of
ran
things
I
anytime.
ran deep search this morning, Spencer,
Okay,
for the first time.
pretty cool.
Dude, incredible. Love it.
Yeah. And
Sorry, I
so
didn't mean to cut you off. That was
no, I mean, I remember the first time I used it, and you have the same reaction. And so, but that's the point. Is like I think it's just that it's changing people's behavior. I use Superhuman. It's like, well, I'm no longer writing emails. I'm just prompting it, and it's like that's something, and I could save 30 minutes a day, right? And so I think it's I think it's basically taking a look at our projects and roadmap as a company and using and forcing people to use AI as a first path on some of these things. I think is really critical. I do think there's a lot we're looking at on the sales side as well to kind of involve AI with certain outreach to certain personas at companies and kind of dynamically generating that. It's not something we've really done yet, but it is. I think that's going to be a big push for us, in the coming months for sure.
very cool, man. Well, thank you very much for coming on the show. And what's the one thing that you want to leave everybody with when it comes to AI?
Just you got roll up your sleeves and use it. It for some of you are using it and great. Like keep using more and more, keep pushing the boundaries on it. I think it's like the technology is actually way ahead of where our understanding of how to even use it, right? And so if you're not playing around with it, like just force yourself to do it. And just little things like don't go to Google, go to a chat GPT, don't write the email, prompt the superhuman, like those types of things, get your hands dirty. And yeah, you'll start to understand. I mean, even just like the most random thing, like on our budget, it's like you can now upload a spreadsheet into ChatGPT, Excel, and it prompt it to write formulas for you. It's like I didn't know you could do that. And so it's like anytime you're going to sit down and do something that's kind of intensive or will take your time, try to do it with AI first. I think that would be the main thing I'd leave people with.
Love that. We've implemented that everyone at the company has to spend an hour a day learning AI just because there's so much tools, so many things that are going on, new ways of prompting, new ideas that it gets you really thinking about AI first, how you're going to use it and sets that stage for continuous learning because that's really what we're going to be doing for with AI for the next, foreseeable future.
That's right. That's what the next couple of years will look like for sure.
Cool, Spencer. Well, thank you very much for coming on the show and sharing, and can't wait to chat with you again.